Good evening, viewers. Welcome to the teleconference session. We are from the School of Social Sciences, Faculty of Library and Information Science. Today we have with us our guest Dr. R.K. Chadda, Joint Secretary from the Lok Sabha, and he is a specialist from the Information Science discipline. And today we will be talking on a very useful and popular topic these days, and that is institutional repositories. We'll be having two sessions, so we start with the background towards the formation of institutional repositories. We'll be discussing about the importance of information in the society today, the knowledge society, what are the tools, techniques and the trends towards formation of such a society. We'll be talking about the contribution of libraries and librarians towards this. We'll also be discussing how the libraries and librarians are accommodating, are modifying them, are adopting and adapting themselves towards formation and playing their role in the knowledge and information society. We'll be discussing about the different tools and techniques. We'll be discussing about the different institutional repositories, the trends amongst these repositories, and also the issues that have to be resolved. Since this is not a very old concept, we don't say it's a very new concept, we can say it's not a very old concept. So we'll be discussing about what of institutional repositories, the issues and problems that we encounter while formation of digital institutional repositories. We'll be discussing from the point of view of the questions that generally arise in the minds of our young students and also the professionals. So this topic is going to be useful not only for our learners, for our students, but will also be useful for the upcoming librarians and those who are in the process of forming the institutional repositories. We will also present before you some such institutional repositories with examples and thus try to make the session interesting. So I'll ask Dr. Chadda about the background to this. Yes, Dr. Chadda, please.
Thank you, Jaydeep. Good evening, friends. It's a really interesting topic which IGNOU has picked up today, because the concept of institutional repositories is picking up, and in a new environment, what we call is today's environment, that is information society or knowledge society, the librarian role is changing. The librarian's traditional role of handling books, periodicals or other material in printed form is shifting. This concept is shifting towards electronic formats, and more information is now being generated as well as being distributed as well as being accessed in the electronic format. In fact, the young generation, if you look into the young generation, they are so computer savvy, they are so computer friendly that their life, we can say, begins with the computers. And not only the computers, but the connected computer, the network computer. Their life is largely depending on the network computers. And we also, if we look into our lifestyle and just compare it with last 10 years or so, our lifestyle has also totally changed. You go for any industry, you go for any system, and now we find everywhere we are using IT directly or indirectly. The Indian experiment, we can recall, became public. The railway reservation system, we can say it was one of the best examples, which showed the public how best the uses of IT can be done for the public, and the railway reservation was a big hit, where people started getting the advantage directly, and one can book ticket from anywhere, as if you don't have to worry about the counters or the station or the area, and the data is accessible anywhere, anytime, and one could make use of the facility. And then today, if you look into, it has penetrated in each and every part of our life. Probably we began with the network life in the morning, and while sleeping we are still connected in one way or other way. whether it is connectivity can be wired connectivity, connectivity can be wireless connectivity. The mobiles are becoming so popular for voice transmission or data transmission or multimedia transmissions that totally life has changed. And this has really, brought a revolution, and this revolution certainly has impact on the libraries also. So let's see. You see, what I normally, try to do, I'll try to take very two popular experiments or two popular examples. One is the example of banking sectors. See, the banking sector, if you see, it has changed drastically. The banks were, if you look into the 10 years back towards the banks used to be, 10 to 2, you have fixed hour, 10 o'clock to 2 o'clock, 2 o'clock the person will lock the counter, he will leave the counter. Then you have to go to the bank, stand in the queue, and if you have to draw the money, you have to have a physical check, and that physical check has to be presented physically to the person. The person will open the ledger, and then he will check your balance. You go to the second counter, and my gosh, if you have to have a demand draft to be made, it used to be hell of a business. Your 2 hours have gone just getting a demand draft. But today, banking sector has totally changed. There is no concept of boundaries of bank. Bank is available to you 24 by 7 by 365. Data transmission means, what I mean is the currency transmission, or the if you have to transfer certain money, or you have to transfer certain information, it is online. You can do it from your residence, you can do it while moving from one place to another place. If you want to take money out, ATMs are there at every corner. You can just stop there, draw the physical, draw the hard currency if you are looking for. Otherwise, plastic money is playing its role. So the things have totally changed. The things have changed in such a way which probably nobody would have imagined even 10 years back. The things have totally, now the banking sector is totally different. It's without boundaries. It is accessible 24 hours. Data can be, or money can be transferred from one place to another place just in a fraction of second. You don't have to, make a physical draft or kind of a thing. You just leave instructions with your bank from your residence or from your workplace, or while you are moving from one place to another place, and the money gets transferred automatically 1,000 kilometers away, or 5,000 kilometers away, or 5 kilometers away. It goes automatically. So the whole concept, the whole lifestyle, or the whole banking sector has changed. And this is one of the best examples we can quote, or which we are realizing from which we are feeling in our day-to-day life. Let's take, this is one example which I will later on put it onto the libraries, how libraries' role has been changed in this scenario. Similarly, let's take another example. We have been talking about services. We talk about SDI, we talk about current awareness services, and a whole lot of library services. But I'll give you a very simple example. There are a number of newspaper alert services. Example can be Google Alert, Samachar.com, or a whole lot of there, Yahoo Alert. Whole lot of services are there. Now what exactly happens is that suppose you are interested in some kind of a news from different newspapers, like you are interested in political news or economic news, or that kind, any kind of info, sports news. So what you do is you instruct your computer that you are looking for a such and such news, and every day morning, the moment you open your computer, you find that the computer scans, or the system scans the news items appeared in various newspapers, pick it up and bring it on your email, and you get each and every news item, whether it's a political or social or whatsoever it is. It comes in a filtered way in front of you, and that's a big service. Instead you look into 20 newspapers or 50 newspapers, then you look for the news which may interest you, and spending so much of time, time is saved. Automatically the system locates the items, it generates a kind of a file for you, and it comes in front of you at the desired time in the morning, or whatsoever the fixed time is there. So this is a kind of service which is being developed automatically, which has been generated automatically. Now, I purposely gave these two examples to you, keeping in mind that one has to now talk. What I feel is, now we have to start thinking differently. We have to look into the whole library concept. the concept of library in a very, very different way. We don't have to talk about the traditional mode of library services that, of course, that those are equally important, I don't say, but at the same time, we have to start thinking differently, probably which was not available 5 years back or 10 years back. And we have to talk about absolutely new services, taking example from the banking sector, taking example from airline reservation, or taking example from your alert services which automatically comes to you. Alert services are in number of ways. On your mobile itself, you get an alert about the cricket score. Now this is another kind of alert service because you are very keen in cricket score. You want to know what is happening today between India and Sri Lanka. The match was being played. So that service provider, every run a team scores, you get a kind of alert, or whatsoever procedures they adopt, you get alerts that what is happening in the score. So this is a kind of service. So now let's see, let's look into the things in this way, that how the library services can be redefined, how the librarians can rethink about the services in this new environment, how we can change our life, how we can work into a new concept, and that's the thing which we have to look into. And that's why these new concepts, today we are talking about the concepts of institutional repositories, we are talking about the concept of digital libraries, we are talking about accessing the material and all these things. These concepts are being picked up slowly and gradually.
Yeah, Dr. Chadda, very rightly, I would sum up what you have said, trying to present a picture towards moving towards institutional repositories. So what he has emphasized right now is that first of all that we are observing and experiencing a change in formats. So print to electronic formats is one that he has said. The other that he has stressed is that information generation is very fast, and at the same time the importance of information is there. And also we have with us examples where we see the sort of active services that we are observing, and these services are being provided in a way that we need not to have the physical presence there. We are trying to overcome the geographical barriers as well as time barriers, and that is why this concept of 24/7/365. There are no limits as far as the time and space are concerned. You are present anywhere, anytime, and you can avail of these services. And we have taken a cue from the other sectors that are really ahead of the library services. They are more requirement, they are more required in our daily lives, and that is what he has quoted from the bank services or the rail reservation or airline reservation. We can follow, we can learn from those experiences and build on to develop our libraries also like that. So when we talk of these services, we go a step ahead, and the alert services that he was mentioning of, that is an example of tailor-made services, customizing our services in a way that way our users really need them. That is what is an example of tailor-made services. And not only libraries or rail reservation or airline reservation, anywhere you find these customization of services is there, and the more it is penetrating our lives, the more it is easier for us, and the user finds a delight in using those services and gives a feedback to the service provider, and the service provider gets a pat out of it and tries to improve, still further refine and make it more beautiful, more commendable from the point of the user. So it is these that we have to follow suit and provide these in our libraries also. So since we are concerned with information and the changes in the formats of information that are available due to the developments in information and communication technologies, it is a plus point for us. At the same time, we also know that the users really need information, and there is an importance of information. Like again, we take a daily life example. Whenever we watch these channels or the television, we find that even for some captions you find advertisements there. So this shows that there is importance of information. They know that people are looking for this information, and therefore they provide this about their own companies also, and they feel that this is the best way to advertise because they know people are watching this, they are in need for this information, and therefore this is what is possible due to the different media that are available to us. And this is how things are changing. I think this is what we wanted to convey, Dr.
Yeah. Now coming back to our library services, as Dr. Jaideep mentioned, which is very important, that publication pattern is changing. The users, how user look at the information, that is changing. So the things are changing now. Persons, on one side, more and more publications are being brought out in electronic format. Publications are being transmitted, or the information contained in the publications are being transmitted with the wired or without wireless modes, and it is reaching to the person's table or person's desk or even on person's mobile, and these people are also comfortable now in accessing such information because it gives them lot of advantages. The advantages are that they need not to walk to the library, they can access information anytime, they can manipulate information at a very high, in a very fast way. That means the information can be stored, or information can be reformatted, information can be regenerated. So the manipulation of information becomes very easy. Retrieval is very fast. So in view of all these things, the concept of information published, communicated and accessed, all the three concepts have changed drastically. Now if you look into what examples we talked till now, if you look into the whole concept, the basic concept is very simple. Even you take banking sector or rail reservation or air reservation, what is happening, exactly what is happening, if you look at it from technical point of view, because there are a lot of students who will be interested to know how these services are being given. There is just one central server there. Of course, there will be backups and all these things. Now, all the data, all your banking information, all your personal banking information, that remains on that particular server or in that database. Now, this particular data server is linked to almost every ATM, to all the branches of the banks, and is also accessible to you through internet. Of course, they have a lot of security measures, passwords, encryption and all these things, so that data cannot be hijacked by the outsiders. So the information which is stored, so now suppose you open an account today in a branch which is quite close to your house or office, you are having your account there, but practically all the details are lying either in Bombay or maybe in Delhi server or in a server which is located at a very remote place, and all the data goes, and all the thousands or millions of the customer of a bank, all the data must be residing on one server. And now this server is accessible to everybody from anywhere. So you are getting real-time information about any account from anywhere, and that's the basic concept. Now taking clue from this, your publication concept has also changed. What has happened? Earlier we used to have printed books or printed journals. Now these printed journals or printed books used to reach you in your library late by, let us say, these journals, normally a journal which is published in USA used to come to us after 3 months, because or if it is coming by sea, if it is coming by air, it used to take about 15 to 20 days, because it will be posted at a place, then it will come to India, maybe by air, it may take 2-3 days, then custom clearance, coming to post office, delivered to your library. Once it comes to your library, you will stamp it, register it, all these activities takes place, and the time lag is almost, let us say, 20 to 21 days, even if you do it very fast. And that was the reason the services like current contents and all these came up, because current content used to give information about the the title page of the journal, so one can know what journals are, what journal articles you are going to see in another 2 weeks or 3 weeks. So that kind of services came into existence because of this time gap between publication and receipt of a journal. But if you go back further, even the time lag between submission of article and printing of journal used to be huge. So overall time lag of publishing an article and reaching to you used to be normally 4 months to 5 months. So that was a big time gap. Now today, then what happened was, when this was there, and in the case of books, it can be even, can go up to 6 months to 1 year even, because there used to be a lot of process take place for publication of books and all this thing. So by the time information reaches you, it may be, practically maybe outdated kind of a thing, because by that time new information might have generated and there may be new things which may be available. So now this process used to take a lot of time. Then from printing era, we moved on to the era of CD-ROMs or DVDs. What used to happen is, instead of publishing the whole journal in a printed format, they used to publish it into the CD-ROMs, and these CD-ROMs used to be sent to the clients. These CD-ROMs, we used to keep it in library, and then library used to have CD towers or CD servers or whatsoever. We had a lot of concept which was about which was the concept of early 90s, and then we used to buy CDs and keep it in the library, and there used to be CD tower, people will access the information and all. Certainly it was pretty fast as compared to the information which was in printed format. But it had its own problems, because even this was taking a lot of time gap, and also there was a problem of storing in the library, accessing and all this thing. We moved further. Today the publication pattern is totally changed. Today's publication pattern is, the moment information is received by a publisher, he puts it onto the server which is residing in his place, and this server is being and the access to the server is given to the subscribers. So today, if you have to subscribe a journal, you have to just pay the subscription to the publisher, and publisher gives you permission to access the journal, and that journal article or that information is accessible to you instantly. The moment new article is posted, the moment new issue is posted, the issue is accessible to you within the moment it is posted. So there is hardly any time gap between publication of a journal and reaching to you, because it is almost instant that journal is in front of you in the electronic format. So look into the whole concept, how the publication pattern has changed. The publication pattern has changed from exactly from the the time lag of almost 4 months to a time lag of almost a negligible time. Now this really brought a revolution. But then this revolution brought some other services also. This is, I gave you example of a traditional thing, what used to happen and what is happening, is just an example of one thing. Now coming to today's topic, you see, this particular revolution has brought number of added things to you. Now why, and what is the necessity that author submits a publication, submits a journal, his data or his information or his article to a publisher only? What is the need? Why it should be done? The article, the information can be posted on a site which is on a journal which is available freely to everybody. That means a concept of open source information, or the concept of information for which there is no charges, that came into existence. We started talking about open source, we started talking about information for which you don't have to pay, and anybody who is interested to post his information or her information can either post it on his or her, can post it onto a journal, can send it to a journal which is available free of cost or which is freely accessible. Here also, the concept is good. Instead of giving it to a publisher who will be charging to people for accessing it, you are giving to a publisher who is not charging anybody anything. It is making accessible, and today we have plenty of examples. Even in library science, if you look into, there may be not less than 100 journals available. Digilib and a whole lot of journals are available which can be accessed free of cost, and you can make access to those journals, those information, or those even databases. IFLA is creating a huge database of electronic information that can be accessed. So whole lot of information is available which is under openware, which is available free of cost to you. Now this was the second thing. Was one more important thing was there. One thing we talk where the publisher was publishing the thing, and we are talking about the traditional system, where the whole lot of information which was being published in a traditional format is got published into a format which is now available at this, in the same format. Only thing is, it is instead of printed format, it came to electronic format. With the side thing, additional thing came was, the people started posting their the information or their articles or other data in the form of in the open source or in the freewares which can be accessed. Now this is not limited, what I am talking is not limited to periodical articles, it is not limited to books, even encyclopedias. Today Encyclopedia Britannica has lost its relevance because a very popular free encyclopedia is available on the net, which is known as Wikipedia or even Encarta. There are so good encyclopedias are available that people are not interested to buy Encyclopedia Britannica either in online subscription or in the freewares or on the CD format, because all the information which Britannica used to contain is being available in other encyclopedias, in other source of material information sources. So people are not going for that, and then encyclopedia, this kind of printed what we call commercial encyclopedias have lost their relevance. Encyclopedia Britannica has already been sold by the Britannica Incorporation to some other company, because they were not able to sustain the publication, they were not able to maintain the publication. So the concept of this freeware brought another revolution. Now third revolution, this we talked about two revolutions. Third revolution, which is more relevant to today's topic, is that the librarian took up a new role, or the information handler have taken up a new role of organizing the information which is generated within their organization, which is in their institution. Now, we are talking about different models. One model is that where the information which has been generated in the traditional format with the help of publishers, with the help of commercial publications, or the commercial publisher, the information is being generated, distributed, is being distributed, organized and kept by them. They keep the copyright, and anybody wants to access, they have to pay for it. The second concept came where the free information started flowing. Information was available, whether it's encyclopedia, books, or treatises, or even the current information. They all started coming into freeware, and people started accessing the information. They were getting updated, they were getting whole lot of data. Now third thing which came up, that institutions, the organizations, they started keeping their own information onto the net, which becomes an important source of information. Now look into societies, the Royal Society of Chemicals, Royal Society of this, all these societies have got wonderful publications. Whole lot of institutions, look into the institution, American Association of Information Sciences, our IFLA. Now these organizations, they started keeping their own information onto the net, into the system, so the people can access that information also. And this gave birth to a new concept, the concept of institutional repositories. Now this institutional repository is a concept where all the information, the information about the institution, or the information being generated in the institution, is kept onto the institution site, so people can access that information. So there are three categories of information which are available today to the scholars. I am talking more on scholarly information. I am not talking about the commercial information or like .coms kind of a thing, because that's a altogether a different topic of discussion, which probably we are not interested as librarians. That's a different kind of a mode. So I am talking about the scholarly information which is being generated by the institute, and this information is being made available to the scholars or to the other users or to the other counterparts throughout the world. Now This so-called institutional repository or so-called the information about the organization has to be handled by somebody in the organization. Now my dear friends, my dear professionals, who is the best person to handle this information in any organization? You are the custodians of information. You are the people who are supposed to take care of information. Whether it's your information, whether it's a purchase information, whether it's a free information, information is our sole right. So the librarian's role became one more additional role came in front of librarian, and this role is basically to take care of information being generated within your institute. Probably Dr. Jaideep will agree with me.
Yeah, very right. So we are moving towards this concept of institutional repositories when he has discussed about the problem due to the delay in obtaining information. As you say, information delayed is equivalent to information lost. So that was really a problem, and libraries were trying to find out ways to overcome this problem of information delay. And at times they were feeling helpless because of the delays due to the publication process. They could not overcome this, and somehow they found out small measures to overcome, as rightly he was mentioning about the current contents and services of that sort, like the current awareness service or the SDI. Though they had started thinking of such services and they were even providing some such services, but were not very successful due to the non-availability of the fully automatic measures. And these services were planned with a view to providing these services using some automatic means only initially. Though they started with semi-automatic means, and they started on improving with these means, and thus came the concept of desktop publishing, and thus this concept was improved a little with that. But then at the same time, this another barrier towards obtaining the information was the cost associated with the information. And so there were two barriers towards obtaining information. One was the time as a barrier, the other was the cost as a barrier. So this information that was available was not available in a timely fashion, and at the same time it was creating a sort of divide among the population. Like what we here in the developing countries were getting, we were not getting was that was available to the developed world. Then there was a lot of problem being faced by us, that was due to the associated costs and also the decreasing buying power of our libraries. So this was a big problem, and it was at the same time felt that the information that was generated by us, by our workforce, by our scientists, by our people, and that was being published by international journals or foreign journals, we were again being charged for that, and that too, if we did not have the power to buy that, power to have access to that information, it was not available to us. So that information for which the workforce is here, at the same time this was not available to the peer group, to the colleagues, to the institution, if they did not have the capacity to buy for that. So these were two forces that were really causing a drawback for the information to be to grow, to the knowledge to grow. So that was really a hampering force, and that is why we say that this concept that came up with time, the concept of open access, openness towards information, and thus this concept grew, and thus has helped us to overcome this problem of divide in information access or reach to information. And again, thanks to the developments in the technology that have made this possible, and thus we have the free access, we have the freewares available, and it is, though it's not that easy that we can provide this access to the information and knowledge, but then concepts are coming up, there are issues that are being solved, some of the issues that are not solved, that are creating problems, and particularly the legal issues, the copyright issues, and some of these have been solved also, and people have joined hands, not only the libraries and the scholars, but also now the publishers are also yielding, But at the same time, there is a hitch from the point of view of publishers, because they feel they might lose on the commercial profit that they are getting otherwise. But at the same time, it should be felt that they lose also on the fact that not everyone buys that information. It is only the majority who are the losers, particularly from countries like developing countries. I think Dr. Chadda would agree to that, and thus that is why this movement is gaining ground, and we find lot of repositories coming up and research institutions playing a role in that. And you think of a research institution in our country also, and you will find they have a role to play in this concept of repositories, and they are helping the society to grow, to the information to grow, the knowledge to grow, and thus coming up with a learning society.
Yes, Dr. Jaideep has really given an important viewpoint. It's today now any organization we are talking. I'm not saying the organization is engaged only in research. Organization can be engaged in any activity. A university generates a lot of information. A university like IGNOU generates huge information in the form of your study material, in the form of the articles written by the teachers of the university, in the form of symposias and seminars being held in the university, in the form of contribution made by the faculty as well as by the researchers and the students of IGNOU to different conferences around the world. So it's a huge database. And then most important is the thesis which you submit, the dissertations or the thesis, whether it's PhD or master level thesis, that is. So the whole lot of the huge information is being generated in a university. As Dr. Jaideep was mentioning, it is not possible for a organize, or it is probably not required also to commercially organize this information, because the commercial agency may not be very keen to take care of so much of information, because information may not suit its commercial proposition. So this whole lot of information which is being generated in university has to be given access to the public. It is after all being done on the public money. This is one example. Look into the scientific organizations. Whole lot of research goes into an organization. A number of articles are being published, a number of reports are being generated, and these our scientists are working on different topics. They come out with some good results. Sometimes they may not come up with some good results, but the efforts are being made and they would like to share their experience. Every experience may not be commercially viable. So again, the role of institutional repository, where the experience could be shared with each other, with the similar kind of institutions, or even with the general public or with general researchers. Come to social organizations. NGOs are doing wonderful job. They are collecting whole lot of data. They are just trying to collect the data. They are trying to organize the data, but this data goes nowhere. What happens to that? So they can keep their own institutional repositories where this data can be made available to the public. Government, which is the most important. Take my parliament's example. Parliament, you have whole lot of debates. You know, the parliament sits from 11 o'clock till 6 o'clock practically for 100 days in a year, and whole lot of information is being generated in the form of debates, questions and all. And this is a very vital information, because this on the basis of this discussions, or on the basis of this deliberation, the government policies are being made. Your bills are being discussed. How a bill has been formed, what is the idea behind a bill, what is the theme behind making a bill, that comes out from the debates. Why a particular bill has been passed, or why a legislation has been brought into, if you have to understand the concept, the rationale behind it, or the logic behind it, or you know what the concept behind it, then you have to go to the debates. You have to look into those debates. That will tell you what was the rationale of the bill. So these all are very important part of information which public has a right to know. It's not a confidential information, it is information which should be available on a public domain. So public should know that why a bill has been passed, why a particular legislation was done, or why so much of money has been granted on a particular head, why the agriculture sector has been given more importance or defense sector has been given importance. Every information is for the consumption of public. You have all the right to know the information. Now how this information will go out? Commercially, again it's not viable. We do print debates. These debates are sold to the public, but I don't think there are many takers of it. Libraries are not very keen because they are very bulky things. They are not again very interested. So how the information will reach to the public? Or TV, fine, we have a Lok Sabha television channel where we show you all the debates, what is happening, but this is just if you are watching the channel. Otherwise, if you want to have information that what happened today morning or what was the exact discussion took place on a particular topic, how you will access it? So the answer is institutional repository. So this is how this concept of institutional repository got picked up. And basically what I want to conclude in the first session is that concept of institutional repository is very important to provide access, to provide information to the public, to the researcher, to the user in a systematic format. And if we talk about the definition of institutional repositories, it is the digital collections capturing, preserving and providing access to the intellectual output of an organization, or otherwise it can be of single or multi-university community. Now this is the information which has to be captured, preserved and then to give access to the people in the best possible way. Later on we will be discussing how it is being done, what are the how it is done, what are the policies, what is how best we can organize the data. This probably we will come up in the second session which we will follow. Meanwhile,
so we have really gone through the background towards formation of institutional repositories, and for that we have seen that there is a change in the formats of information from printed to the electronic formats, and thus that has made possible to form these institutional repositories. At the same time we have seen that there is a change in the requirements of the users. They want information at their desk, they want it in a form that suits their requirements, and that is possible, that has been made possible also due to the developments in technology and also due to the developments in research techniques that are there, and also due to the developments in the allied sciences, that is management and other areas. At the same time we have also seen that there is increasing a wave towards democratization, and why should there be no democratized access to information? And this is particularly true when we say that this information is generated by the public itself, and at the same time when it is generated by the public, why should the public be charged and charged so heavily for accessing that information? So this disparity has to be removed. And at the same time we see that there is an institutional support for not only generating this information, we are trying to provide information support for accessing this information also, and that information support for accessing and organizing this information is nothing but is what is known as an institutional repository. You have been provided with a definition also of institutional repository, and we will continue with this discussion about the institutional repositories in detail in the next session. Till then, just be with us. We will again come back after some time. Thank you.
Thank you.